Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Basic Books. Today I thought I'd talk about a couple of books that I just read, and they had they made an impression on me, um, and I thought I'd share them with you, and hopefully you'll invest in them as well. So the first one is this one, Weird Frequencies. This is published by self-publisher. This one was printed at the local POD for Amazon. It's a book that's edited by Jay Swick, and they say it's a Pulp Morton Press edition. Okay, but it's a print on demand. And the thing that's interesting about this is that these are all creators on YouTube, on BookTube. Okay, so I was. Can we get a better look at that picture? Yeah. So I bought this on a whim, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's not science fiction. It's weird fantasy rather than anything else, and there's not a bad story in here. There's some great stories, but there are no bad stories. There's a couple that I particularly enjoyed. One was by Jay Swick himself, which is Beyond the Thick, which is the first story in the anthology. The other one was by Chris from Liminal Spaces, and that was called Conjunction Junction. Brilliant book, very, very Dick-like, PKD-like, extremely in that vein, and also very kind of J.G. Ballard-like as well. But it was very weird, very strange, and very liminal, extremely liminal. So, the book was worth it for that one alone. I already like that. Another one was The Next Cycle by Ira DeVario. He has a very good channel on here as well. And Richard Rempel didn't write a story, but he did write a comic, which made you think. Very simple, very straightforward. Bobby and the Spaceman. Can we see that? No, we can't. Just go over that side. Is that any better? Yeah, that's better. Yeah. So Bobby and the Spaceman, which doesn't have a spaceman in it, but it's about reading, which I think we can all get behind. So yes, I really like this book. I would recommend it to anybody who likes something a little strange, something a little weird. So yes, that one. Weird Frequencies. Please invest. It's not that expensive. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it wasn't that expensive. And good couple of days entertainment there, reading. The other one was, I took a punt. I used to read a lot of science fiction when I was a teenager, but over the last few years, I haven't, and I don't know why. I read all the classics, Dune, Asimov's Foundation trilogy, Arthur C. Clarke's books. Also, I liked A. Van Vogt as well, and the classic Lensman series. So a lot of classic science fiction, and I suppose that later on in life, I was reading more fantasy and horror. I've always read fantasy and horror, but I used to read a lot of science fiction, and I haven't for the last 20 or 30 years or so. Not pure science fiction, maybe a bit of science fantasy, whatever that may be. Um, Kind of these labels kind of get very nebulous. Um, but I did read, because I love Terry Pratchett. Um, I did read the Long Earth, at least the first two books in the Long Earth series that Terry Pratchett did with this next author that I'm going to talk about, Stephen Baxter. So I took a punt on this from World of Books, of course. Stephen Baxter's Raft, his first novel, which was originally a novella which was in Interzone. Now, I used to read Interzone. I used to get it every month or every 2 months. I can't remember the frequency. And I used to enjoy Interzone. Interzone and Omni were the two magazines for science fiction that I used to read. But I don't remember this one. So whether it was after I stopped reading it, because I stopped reading a lot of stuff when I moved out to Brazil in '93, because you just couldn't get your hands on it. So, but I'd stopped reading science fiction books by this time for quite some time. So I thought I'd take a punt on this one, which is Stephen Baxter's first novel, Raft. As I say, it was originally a novella that was in Interzone. And I loved it. It was brilliant. I mean, it's pretty much hard science fiction, but there are. I mean, I don't know how these things would work as far as my understanding goes. What the setup in the book, I don't think could ever happen. But it's about. I'm not telling you anything that's not in the book, so there's no spoilers. It's about a civilization, a human civilization that's got into a pocket universe. They've fallen through a black hole or something, and the ship. This was 500 years ago, and all that's left of the ship is a raft and a belt. And you have three societies, because you have the bonies as well. But you have the raft, which is where the scientists and the artificers and that live and work, and they kind of keep the equilibrium in this society. And you have the belt, which is where the grunts live, and where they mine iron ore from a dying star, which reminds me a lot of The Expanse. So maybe that was an inspiration for part of The Expanse. But I really enjoyed it, and we follow a character called Reese, who is a miner and who stows away on the transport, which are trees between the belt and the raft. And the raft society keeps the belt society under its thumb by having the only ways of providing food and water to both societies. The bonies we meet later on in the book are way out, further out in the nebula. But anyway, the nebula is dying, and they need to find a way to escape. So that's something that comes later in the book. But it's a very, 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 very good science fiction book. It's made me want to read more. So I may invest in some other science fiction. I mean, I recently read The Three Stigmata of Harry Palmer, and I understood where that came from, but it wasn't my favourite PKD. This one is very good. If you haven't read it, and it's not such hard science that you get confused. If you've got at least a little understanding of what how the universe works, then you'll get by with this book. It's really good. It moves along very quickly. I read it in about 3 days, which was unusual for me because I normally spend more time on that. So 2 books then that I wanted to talk about and have talked about, and I highly recommend. One is Stephen Baxter Raft, and the other is Wild Frequencies, which is done by a load of YouTubers. If you want to find their channels, I'll leave them in the description. I'll leave a list of their channels in the description. All worth visiting and all worth supporting. If you've made it this far, please feel free to like and to subscribe. I'm not making any money out of this, but it's just nice to know what's happening as someone who's just started up in the last couple of months. And hopefully I'll see you again soon.